A storyline so pure, it feels like fiction. We got Rory at the top, we got Bryson at the top, and we got Rick Gehman at Augusta. Rick, this looks familiar.
This is sick. This is, I mean, this is what, if I would have asked you on Wednesday night, what's the best? I mean, we did probably talk about this at some point. What would be the greatest final pairing on Sunday? A lot of those combinations were Rory and Bryson. Yeah, you might have stuck some Scotties in there. You might have snuck some of Ludwig's in there. I don't know, but a lot of them would have been Rory and Bryson. This battle of good versus evil, but both sides think their guy is the hero.
Yes.
Um, you've got I mean, literally this. Okay, so let's just assume that this is a 2-horse race. In all likelihood, tomorrow night, Rory McIlroy or Bryson DeChambeau is going to be the Masters champion. That is,
Right.
in almost all certainty, just because of the way the leads are set here. That means Rory McIlroy is either going to complete the career Grand Slam, get to 5, tie Brooks for the best major record post Tiger era. He is going to snap this decade plus winless drought. On the other side of things, Bryson, one of the most popular players on planet Earth, would get to 3 major championships, holding 2 of them at the same time. He would surpass Scotty Scheffler. He would surpass Justin Thomas. He would tie Jordan Spieth. We are going down 2 paths of history. In almost all certainty, one of those is going to happen tomorrow.
Everything you just said is why when people were asking what they want to see on Sunday at the Masters, because we talked about this on I don't know if it was the network show, Rick, or one of the shows we do on this SportsLine YouTube channel. By the way, make sure you're subscribed right here. But I'm pretty sure this came up in terms of, hey, what's the storyline? What do you want to see on Sunday? And I don't know who it was. It might have been me, but probably wasn't. It was probably somebody else. I'm pretty sure said Rory and Bryson would be the storyline. Let's be real about it. Process of elimination. I mean, listen, Scotty's impressive, but I don't know that anybody's like yearning to see Scotty at the top in versus like a Rory McIlroy who hasn't won at Augusta before. And then Bryson, the theatrics there are always going to be there. This is, and it's weird that we're just ignoring everybody else because, there are a certain number of shots back, but and we'll talk about some of those guys. Ludwig had a great day. I was not expecting that. Patrick Reed had a great day. I guess a lot of us were expecting that to some degree during the pendency of this tournament. Corey Connors, steady hand. Jason Day showing up. Scotty faltering a little bit. Colin, very ho-hum. But these 2 at the top, Rick, I just, and you already said it, I don't think we need to belabor the point. You could not have scripted this better if you were CBS or if you were the Masters.
Yeah, or if you're a fan, right? I mean, this is what I want to see too, right? I've got no financial interest in it. I've got no anything, but like this is going to be sick because Rory McIlroy is going to try to not make this a rematch. This is not him versus Bryson. He is not going to enter tomorrow thinking that. Bryson is going to make it that way. Bryson wants to be the Rory Slayer. Bryson is playing up the crowd every chance that he gets. Bryson is going to try to go toe-to-toe with the drives. Bryson is going to turn this into a show, and he should. That should also be part of his strategy. It is going to be electric. I'm already just putting out in the ether, so we've already had one of these battles. Bryson gets Rory at Pinehurst. I think that I want, Rory to get Bryson here, and then like a good boxing match. We've got one win for each. Got to go to the rubber match. Let's run this back at Quail Hollow. These 2 in the final group.
100%. I do want to get into Rory's round, but it's interesting what you said about the theatrics and what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know if because you've been on the course, so I do want to get your perspective in terms of what you saw today, particularly from those top 2. But I think most people after the round were looking at the post interview or the interviews with like Amanda Balionis, for example. And of course they did the pressers as well. But Rory, his quote was, "I'm just going to be in my own little cocoon, my own little bubble tomorrow." And I think that's the mindset he needs to have. But who knows that Rory wants to stay in his own bubble, his own little cocoon? Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, he's all about the theater, but he wants to win too. And he's going to do, it might be subtle, don't get me wrong, but he's going to do what he can to shake Rory early. And again, we might not see that with our eyes. It might just be, standard Bryson stuff that is able to do that. But I like the mindset that Rory has, but it's not really going to work in the final pairing with Bryson.
I think standard Bryson stuff is enough to annoy Rory, quite honestly. I mean, we saw it on 16. Bryson hit one close on 16. I don't know if they showed this on the broadcast or not. So Bryson hits one close on 16. He taps in, 3.5 feet, something like that. And then he just kind of stands over the hole and like looks around like, where are my accolades? Give me more. Let's go. Let's go. I just made birdie here. I'm still in this thing. And he just does that little stuff. And the crowd loves it, dude. I mean, he is very popular out here. He is incredibly popular. Both of these guys are incredibly popular. I'll be interested to see how that kind of, if sides are taken at some point tomorrow, but it is going to be absolutely insane.
Jason Harrod says, Bryson going to crack that cocoon. Yeah, probably. That doesn't mean he wins necessarily, but yeah, I'm sure Rory's going to be feeling that quite a bit. Joseph Bose is in here, Taylor DeHart, Will, Robin, Neal. Thanks for being in here, everybody. David Talk, Chris Washburn. Hit the like button if you could. And again, make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. Let's get into Rory's round a little bit, Rick. And we'll start there. We'll get into Bryson's round to some degree as well. I don't know where you were on the course. I understand today you might have been kind of around Amen Corner. I think you also might have been around 15th where we saw the Rory Eagle, except that it wasn't the Rory Eagle. It was the Rory second Eagle. He starts off, I mean, look at this scorecard. 6 consecutive threes. He goes birdie, chips in for Eagle, goes birdie, drains a long putt on 5. I don't know. What were you able to see of Rory? What were you able to make out from the roars at Augusta?
So we were wrapping up an HQ hit as the final groups were getting out there. So we were walking back up from the par 3 course, and it all happened so fast, see it, right? So Rory and Connors were the second to last group. Rose and Bryson were the last group. And as soon as those groups were out there, it was just fireworks, fireworks, fireworks. Rory birdies the first. Bryson makes a long birdie on number 1. Rory chips in for eagle. Lowry made a birdie putt. Then Connors makes a. I mean, it was just electric out of the gate for Rory in particular. The drive he hit on number 1 was 371 yards. It was absolutely insane. Hits a good shot, drains the putt. Then he carries the bunker on number 2, also an insane drive. Hits it behind the hole, chips it in. Now it's the point where it's like, I always think back to the 150th Open Championship where Rory McIlroy enters the final round with a lead and makes 18 pars, and it's just like he never had any momentum. He never got anything going. Immediately gets it going. On top of that, he hits a stellar approach into 3, makes that putt, and it is just like full throttle. Everyone is foaming at the mouth. It is just insane stuff going around Augusta National. He holds it together through the middle of this round. This could have gotten away from him. Little sloppy at 8. He's got he three jacks 10. This could have gotten away from him. He did make a couple of good momentum saving pars in there as well, and then he finishes strong. The shot he hit into 15 was just unbelievable. I mean, I think it was like 206 yards to 6 feet. He is fully strutting after it the second it comes off his club face. Truly special. I mean, back-to-back 66s. Is that the round of the day 2 days in a row? Like that's just it's unheard of.
I think it is. I mean, it was the round of the day yesterday, right? And nobody shot a 66 today. Yeah, so that's round of the day, back-to-back days. Pretty incredible. We got Josh kind of putting up what we saw on 15 on approach from Rory McIlroy. I mean, it's just ridiculous. What was he, 6 feet for eagle?
I mean, he's walking after it before it's like barely apexed, and yeah, yes. So I think it was 205 yards to 6 feet or something like that on 15, which is the hole he made double on Thursday. And then he converts he makes the putt. Like Rory never makes that putt in a major championship, right? It's just everything went well.
Interesting note here, because we did have somebody that also shot a 66, and of course, Rick, we all know it was going to be Zach Johnson.
Yeah, that was the early mover. So it was like, I'm sorry, is this a typo? He was like 5 under very early in that round. He gave a couple back, but he did finish strong. So yeah, Zach Johnson also a 6. So Rory shot the best round of the day yesterday and tied for the best round today.
It kind of weird that Zach Johnson was able to put that round. I understand conditions are a little bit better in the morning, but one thing I've noticed, and part of the reason I think Rory and Bryson are at the top, I mean, let's talk about Bryson for a second. He's lost
Yeah.
on approach 2 days in a row. Now, granted,
Yeah.
he's making up for it. A lot of short game stuff is working out for him. But the off the tee game for these guys, they're hitting it so far. Not everybody in the top 10 is doing that. And we got Ludwig up there. We got some heavy hitters, Scotty, of course. But I mean, these guys are the short irons coming in, the wedges coming in for these top two are just making things a lot easier.
Yeah, the ground, the greens are incredibly firm, and the ability to hit the ball high is one thing. Both Rory and Bryson can drop it from space, but the other thing is, and these are related, because they're hitting so much shorter clubs than everybody else. They're already coming in from a better descent angle, and they're able to hold greens. They're able to get their distance control in effect. Bryson makes a long birdie putt on one, and then birdies the par 5 second. And I love he has found a way to rise to the moment in these major championships and just get himself into the mix. I mean, he birdies 15, 16, and 18 to finish this thing off. The one he made on 18, we were talking about it before we went hot. You get very good at deciphering the roars out there. This one was easy. This one was easy because there was only 2 guys on the golf course as I was making my way back down to set. So that sent chills through my body knowing that that Bryson made a birdie on 18 to get himself in the final group, to get himself within 2 shots. It was a 4-shot lead. This could have been a 4-shot lead. It could have been a 5-shot lead. Bryson claws it back. I've been so impressed with just the way he's hung in major championships in the last year and year plus. This was a really, really good round. And yes, he's not perfect, but he's finding ways.
You know, the pressure that final putt that Bryson made on 18, and that was from way downtown. The pressure he applied to Rory, I mean, he was going to be in the final group anyway. He just had to 2-putt it. But to inch closer from what was a 4-shot lead to a 3-shot lead to a 2-shot lead in that type of way, it would have been one thing if he stuck it to 5 feet and made a putt. I just feel like this was a kind of a different way to make birdie for Bryson, where it makes Rory be like, oh man, really? Like I got even more pressure applied to me because he's this much closer.
Well, it's almost not, it's not really he's a very good putter, but that's, you don't expect to make a 48 footer, but it's not really a superpower, right? If he was out there driving greens, that'd be one thing. It's like, these are bonuses when he makes ones like this. And I mean, a 2-shot lead is nothing, right? A 2-shot lead could disappear 1 hole into this tomorrow. And it's just such a bigger difference. The other thing that I think is interesting, Sia, is that Rory McIlroy has been playing with reckless abandon the last 2 days because of kind of what he screwed up on Thursday, goes nuts on Friday, goes nuts on Saturday. Now he's in the lead. I do wonder if he gets a little bit more conservative, if he doesn't take on flags that he was. Bryson has been playing from the chase pack throughout the entirety of this event, and he kind of only has 1 speed. He is going to try to go full throttle again on Sunday. So it is such a fascinating setup that we have, and only 18 holes to figure it out.
I think Rory has to do what he's done the last 2 days. I know that's kind of a Captain Obvious answer, but to your point, like maybe with a lead, you get a little bit more defensive. But I think it's just been going so well for him. And I do think he wants to match Bryson in terms of just the aggressiveness. Because the last thing you want if you're Rory McIlroy is to lose and have everybody say, oh, he got conservative. He kind of tightened up. He got scared.
If Rory loses tomorrow, we might never see him again. I don't like it. I stay away from sharp objects. It'll be devastating. I do not know how he would recover if Bryson nips him again tomorrow.
Percentage chance he deals with the media tomorrow if he loses?
0.
Really?
Yeah.
I
just think it's easy to like. I think it's just easier for him to leave.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly that is easier, but I also feel like he'll know that that's the expectation, and then I think he might kind of like switch it around a little bit and just be that bigger guy. We'll see. I'm probably wrong.
I hope we don't even have to see if that's going to happen or not, but maybe.
So speaking of percentages, I put out like a little poll like an hour ago before we went live, of course. And we had 150 people vote. Just so you know, the poll was, who do you want to win tomorrow? Rory, I almost said Scotty because I always say Scotty in these situations. Rory, Bryson, or other, because maybe somebody likes Connors to win or something. Rory 56%, Bryson 31%, other 13%. That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I do think they're two incredibly popular golfers, but I do think the drought, the career Grand Slam thing is definitely a Rory. People I think people want to see Rory exercise some demons here.
I agree. Do you think let's just assume the crowd out there tomorrow is this split? Like, in other words, 2/3 kind of rooting for Rory, 1/3 rooting for Bryson. It's not really going to pan out that way, right? Because we're going to hear roars with like great shots, regardless of who you're rooting for, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. It is golf is hard to cheer for a specific golfer because it's not like if you are rooting for Bryson, you will sit on your hands if Rory makes a birdie. Like that's just not going to happen. But yeah, it'll be fun because you'll hear kind of the back and forth. Like everything will be cheered, right? All good shots will be cheered. You hope you see a lot of good shots. It'll be fun.
I do want to mention a few other guys that were on the course today, but I want to get your perspective because you've had to do media hits. You've been obviously on the grounds, just kind of watching golf, following groups or at least following holes. Did you get the vibe today that people were like, I can't believe this is Bryson and Roy, or this is setting up like Bryson and Roy, or were media people that you were working among, were they kind of saying the same thing? Were people intoxicated with that kind of early in the round, or were they just loving watching golf at the Masters?
Yeah, so the media center was intoxicated with it prior to the round starting. Like, there was one of the big conversations before the day started was, holy crap, look at this leaderboard, right? Like we could have a lot of different really good scenarios. I mean, you start rattling them off, right? It's okay. You could have Rory Scotty, you could have Scotty Bryson, you could have like all this stuff that you could have. Now Scotty falters, he does not get himself as close as he would like, but the overarching A1 final pairing was Rory and Bryson. And then you feel that out on the golf course. It's, when they flip that board open and you're waiting for them to add a score, whether it is a par, a birdie, or a bogey, you're waiting for them to add it. And Bryson adds a birdie it's exciting times, and people are definitely like looking forward to what they get on Sunday.
And just real quick, a matter of perspective, you're waiting for them to flip that because you don't have your phone on you, and you can only watch what you can watch, what's in front of you. So you don't have, like, people on the course don't really know what's going on until that scoreboard actually flips.
Yeah. So yeah, just to be clear, we're not allowed to have our phones. Nobody's allowed to have their phones. So we have no technology. The leaderboards are not digital boards. So they're not like on the PGA Tour, they're digital boards where they roll through the entire leaderboard. Then they flip and they show it to you in alphabetical order. Then they show you rounds of the day. Then they show you close shot. None of that. Okay. These are traditional hand leaderboards that show 10 spots. They show 10 spots. That's it. And early in the day, you'll see guys that are hot and on the golf course early, they're on the board. And then if they start to fall off, like they get taken off the leaderboard. It's like, that sucks. They've been dropped from the board essentially. And then, and then basically you're looking at the top 10 of the event the entire time. And then they post each hole as it gets completed. So when they open up the board, a new score is coming in and you're just waiting to see what it is.
That is such a fascinating, like, old school way to internalize a sporting event, because it's one of a kind, right? I can't think of another sporting event, another sport where you don't have access to like what's going on like completely with the sport itself. That is incredible. All right, we got to talk about some other golfers. We got to talk about the leaderboard in terms of odds and what markets we might want to consider. Maybe the without Rory and without Bryson market. That's out at BetMGM and other books as well. But we do want to talk to you and field your questions, to talk about some of these other gentlemen on the leaderboard. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners. We're back on the early wedge. My name is Nejad, and I'm joined by Rick Gehman at Augusta. Rick, I got to ask you about some of these other guys here, because it's not just a two-horse race. I mean, we have guys that are absolutely within striking distance, namely Corey Connors, who is as steady as they come and was steady again today. Wasn't great off the tee, but was great on approach. Around the green play was a little negative, and then he gained with the putter. But behind him, there's a couple of guys at 600, Patrick Reed, Ludwig Oberg, who started off kind of choppy today and then really got it going. Had some, I don't want to call it luck, but had some really good fortune with the putter, draining some long putts. And I think that really got his round going on the back nine. Jason Day, Scotty Scheffler, Lowry, Justin Rose falls back. They're all at 5 under. And then we've got the 4 under pack, which does include Zach Johnson, Echeverria, who, God, this guy just keeps showing up. Xander Schauffele is back there. We go down, we see names like Sung Jae Homa, Colin Morikawa. Let me ask you this right off the bat. Corey Connors, does he have a chance? And is he the only one that has a chance?
He does not have a chance, and he's the only one that this is even a reasonable question with, right? You know, we were kind of doing the math, like 14 or 15 under probably wins this golf tournament or not gets you into a playoff. That would require Corey Connors to shoot a 65. If there is a 65 out there for Corey Connors out of the penultimate group, then Rory McIlroy or Bryson DeChambeau are getting deeper than 14 or 15 under par.
Yeah.
Like they just are, right? This is not the case of a guy who's going to have vastly different conditions in the morning shooting a 65 and then hoping it holds. He's going to be playing in the same. He's going to have to beat Rory and Bryson by a ton of strokes. So he's the only one in the conversation. But to me, it is not going to happen just because of the way this is shaking itself out. I do want to say this though, you know, Corey Connors and Patrick Reed, they were both pretty popular selections coming into the week. They have both done a great job. I was impressed with Corey to post that too. I mean, he was just in the middle of it. Having to play with Rory McIlroy is not easy. I thought he did a really great job on Saturday. And then Patrick Reed has just been vintage Patrick Reed, just 3 rounds under par. You know, something barely into double digits is going to win this event. If you shoot 2 or 3 under every single day, you're going to be in the mix. He's not going to win this golf tournament either, but like 2 guys that had some pretty high expectations relative to their skill set, relative to their price, have exceeded those this week. And I expect that to continue tomorrow.
Patrick Reed, no matter the conditions, he's just the king of this place. It's unbelievable. And it goes to show, Rick, I mentioned this to EC yesterday. I don't know that, and it's great that like your site has live strokes gain metrics, and it's great that whether you're on RRG or not, you can see finishing positions. I don't know that we can apply anything that happens to live. I mean, maybe I'm overstating it, to what happens at majors. Because guys like Tyrrell Hatton, who haven't been good recently, Patrick Reed, who's been just kind of like whatever on live, these guys are just showing up. And I understand it's a course fit thing too, but I don't know how else to explain it other than they're not taking live that seriously.
Yeah, it's just there also, I think there is part of it where like the setups on live are very easy, quite honestly.
That's true.
They're quite easy. And that's kind of why sometimes you see like these random guys finish inside the top 5, guys that haven't been competitive in a lot of places, because it's, you know, professional golfers can make a lot of birdies and in easy conditions can do that. The part where the best players on live, or at least the most experienced players, separate themselves are at major championships with difficult golf courses, right? Patrick Reed is a grinder. Patrick Reed is like shows up at a major championship and will do literally anything to try to win that golf tournament. And that is like, that doesn't always work at some of these easier courses all over the globe. He wants to play difficult courses. Now, this is a longer course for him, but there's still a lot of ways for him to separate. So, yeah, I actually think the live guys really show their chops at majors, if that makes sense.
Oh, it completely makes sense. And you're right about the setups. It makes 100% sense. Let's talk about some of the other guys that were on the course today. Scotty Scheffler, very underwhelming, even par day. He's stuck at 5 under. Obviously doesn't have a real shot to catch Rory or Bryson. Maybe you want to consider him in the without market, because that is available without the top 2 guys. We can talk about that in a few minutes. But your reaction to his day, I mean, the ball striking really hasn't gotten going. Even yesterday, it really hadn't gotten going. Nothing really kind of clicked post round. He basically just said what you think he'd say. I really just couldn't find a groove, couldn't get things going. Your response to Scotty being now a 40, 50 to 1 shot. He's got really no shot at this thing.
No, he doesn't. I saw he was minus 140 to finish inside the top 5, which is kind of interesting. That includes ties as well if you're looking on DraftKings, so you don't have to worry about being dead heated to death here. But it's been a weird week. He clearly hasn't had his best stuff. I think maybe looking back now, Thursday's round, he made some mistakes. He got away with them. Friday, he made some mistakes and didn't really get away with them, but still got it in under par because he's very, very good. And then kind of the same thing, the left miss off the tee and I don't want to say he's struggling with the putter, but he's just not making some of those like momentum saving pars that we see, like those mid-range 6 to 8 footers for par. He's not making, just like a handful of putts going wayward, and he's only a couple shots back. So I guess you could frame this however you want. He's probably going to finish inside the top 5 at the Masters again. It's going to end up being a great result. But it just hasn't been very sharp from Scotty this week.
I'll mention a couple other names before we start looking at odds and looking at a couple of your questions here. David Talk says, great show. Thanks. Thank you for saying that. Let's see. Hideki was 7 over par. I actually, in our SportsLine Discord, I was like, it's not an official play. I didn't like any matchups today. I said I lean Hideki over Ludwig. Like, how did that work out? Like, that's like just like the most massive shot difference of all time. Hideki completely blew up. But there are a couple other names that I thought were interesting. Obviously, Rose fell back. Hovland was hot until he wasn't. I think he bogeyed his last 2. He looked like he was about to make a push. And Max Homa, I know he's not relevant in terms of like winning this thing. He's T14 right now. Max Homa was so bad, and he was 3 under today. He gained on approach. He gained around the green. He gained with the putter. My question for you, Rick, is did the interview with Patrick McDonald turn things around for Max Homa?
Well, clearly, of course it did. That's the only explanation. No, so this is interesting. I'm kind of getting caught up. I did not see any of the Hideki. I did not know he shot a 79. That is wild. I did see Victor's round, which it has been, I would have to look, but I swear he's probably made more birdies and more bogeys than anybody who's made the cut. It has just been all over the place. I tend to think there's a lot of good signs there, but like birdies on 2, 3, 8, 9, but like back-to-back bogeys like a handful of times throughout this round too. Just like, he does seem closer though, but that's interesting. The Homa stuff, the one thing that does stand out to me is that Augusta National is just so different, and guys that don't necessarily have great form can figure it out around here. There's a level of strategery, if that's a word, that goes a long way. So you can mask some of your issues by knowing how to play the golf course.
Yeah.
At the same time, you could be playing well and not know how to play the golf course and blow yourself up. It is just such an interesting fact. Like every hole, you're on the edge of every hole, see it. So if everything's 50-50. And if you start losing coin flips, a 79 is in play. And if you start winning coin flips, a 65 is in play. But it's just like you're constantly on this knife's edge. It's unreal.
Let's look at a couple of questions, and then we'll look at the odds board. David Talk says, because the matchups are out, and so obviously they're matched up via grouping. Rory is minus 125 over Bryson. So just so everybody's clear, you might be new, that would be Rory to actually beat him in round 4 as opposed to win the tournament. Any thoughts on that question from David Talk? Do you like Rory minus 125 over Bryson? It is notable that Bryson has lost on approach the last 2 days, and he was actually out on the range after his round working with his irons.
So hold on a second. If you think Rory McIlroy is going to win, shouldn't you just bet him in this matchup here? So do I have the numbers right that he's minus 200 to win?
Yeah, to win the tournament, but he has to win the round 4 matchup for this minus 1. So in other words, if he wins the tournament, but only by one stroke,
he could lose by right. Sorry. My brain is fried this way. Right. I was like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this doesn't make any sense about how this would go. I
don't love it. To be honest, normally in this situation, the chaser is the minus 125 guy because the thought is that the guy in the lead is going to play a touch more conservatively. So I'd rather get this at minus 110 or something.
Yeah, the problem is that it doesn't happen often in golf, but I don't love it when the golfer's end goal does not align with yours. So Rory cares about winning the golf tournament minus 200, right? And will be looking at the leaderboard and trying to ensure he wins the golf tournament. He will not be trying to beat Bryson in a matchup, right? And could care less if he loses to Bryson by 1, as long as he wins the golf tournament. So it's just not an alignment of desires, which I don't like. So yeah, it's probably like a no play for me. There are a couple of other ones that are out here, like where did it go here? So Jordan Spieth and Joaquin Niemann, I think they play together on Saturday as well, if I remember correctly. Jordan Spieth's minus 105. I think he is I was able to catch a lot of his rounds. He has this unbelievable short game. He hit a perfect shot into 13 that went into the back bunker. I couldn't believe it. And then he got up and down from there, which is just an impossible shot. The Spiethian magic is like doubled at this place.
So you like that over Niemann in a match because Niemann's ball striking was pretty good today, just as a point of reference.
Yeah, I do like that. I also like Denny McCarthy over Sahith. Sahith was grinding late on the range with short game stuff, and we know his game's kind of been all over the place. Denny minus 115. Denny's playing pretty well, and the stuff that I've seen from Denny's been pretty good.
I think I like that too. Do we have, Josh, the odds board to look at? I mean, we could show the odds board, but we could also show like the winner without Rory and Bryson odds board. But here's how it is right now. Ricky referenced it, minus 200 for Rory McIlroy. Bryson is plus 250. Corey Connors, Ludwig. I mean, these are really not guys to consider, right, Rick?
I think you're probably burning your money on Corey Connors and down.
Yeah.
It would take a real something crazy to happen to multiple guys for someone not named Rory McIlroy or Bryson DeChambeau to win. I suppose if you were truly uninvested in this tournament before it started, like I don't know if I would bet Rory McIlroy to win tonight at minus 200. I'd probably prefer the Bryson side of that, but it's just a no play, I think, at the top of the board. What's the without market look like?
Yeah, let's look at the without McIlroy. There we go. Thank you, Josh. McIlroy and DeChambeau market. This is interesting. I personally think I know how well Ludwig is playing. I don't see it from him. I don't know. Corey Connors at plus 188. I don't think that's a terrible number. Scotty, I think, is just a little off. Patrick Reed at plus 750 is interesting to me. I'm not in love with any of this, Rick, but anything you like.
So we are looking at, in this scenario, the lead is 8 under, which is Corey Connors. That puts Patrick Reed and Ludwig 2 shots back. Day, Scheffler, Lowry, Rose 3 shots back. I don't mind the Patrick Reed number here at 7.5 to 1. He's 2 shots. He's 2 shots behind. He will not mail this in. So he has a lot on the line. So basically these live golfers are only getting a chance to play other major championships depending on their finish in this event, right? They're also like Patrick Reed's path to the Ryder Cup is basically only in major championships, having to play his way in. So the amount of points that he could earn at this event with like a solo third would be critically important for his Ryder Cup chances, because there's no chance he gets picked by a captain's pick, I imagine. So he is going to have to play his way on this team, and that stuff is legit motivating, and he's been great in 2025. So I don't mind that one single bit. Who's he? I'm sorry, Josh. Do we have the grouping? So I know it's going to be McIlroy and DeChambeau, and then it's going to be Connors and someone. I don't know who got in first between Reed and
I'll tell you in 1 second. It's Connors and Patrick Reed.
Great. That, like, the nicest guy in the world and maybe not the nicest guy in the world. Like that's perfect for Patrick Reed. I love that.
Yeah, the plus 750 is interesting. I was looking at it. I think it would be, I mean, honestly, I'm not in love with any of these numbers. I'm not even in love with the Connors plus 188. I wish that was a touch longer. That market's going to be available throughout the round, so I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, that's something to consider. We didn't mention Colin Morikawa or Xander Schauffele, Rick, and I bring them up in the context of potentially like a top 5 or a top 10, probably more like the top 10, like Colin you can get, I think, at plus 120. Xander, I'll have to check that number out. But any thoughts on Colin or Xander having a good Sunday?
I haven't had a chance to run the shot by shot numbers yet, so I don't know like what Colin's strokes gained putting was for round 3. He was like kind of not looking good on the putting greens before the round, and he looks a little frustrated with his stroke. Kind of took him a little bit to get to the first tee. Schauffele has outside of round 1, which I thought there was a moment that thing was going to get away from him. He turned he bogeyed 9, 10, and 11 on Thursday. Since then, he's played really great golf. So I would think that there is one direction that Xander is going on this leaderboard. It is up, and we are already looking at, just by the way, another top 10 from Xander Schauffele, which he has finished inside the top 10 of over half the major championships he's played in his career, an ungodly amount.
Yeah, I think if you could find a good number on a Xander top 10, that is the way to go. By the way, Colin Morikawa, he lost a stroke and a half putting, and he also lost over a half a stroke with the short game. He was decent on approach, good off the tee. Short game was bad for Colin. And by the way, Justin Rose lost almost 5 strokes putting, which is about the same number of strokes he gained round one.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you 2.5 of them were probably on 16. Didn't he 3-jack from like 4 feet or something like that? So yeah, it was coming. You know, it is difficult to win as a 45-year-old here. It's a grueling golf course. He'd be like the second oldest to ever win it. That we kind of knew that was coming.
Let me look at the chat before we get out of here. Mike says DK has winner without Rory. Oh, winner without Rory has Bryson at minus 150. Is that a no-brainer?
Well, it's kind of the difference between, right? So that's the same difference as Connor's a 2-shot lead at plus 188 over all those guys. Bryson then has a 2-shot lead over Connors and all those guys. Yeah, I think it is like absolutely Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau box them 1-2, right? As if they were thoroughbreds. Like they are going to finish in some combination of first and second, and then everybody else is going to have to shuffle in there.
The only thing I would say to that is that I think the watch out for Bryson is, can he be this good with the short game? Because I think Josh actually was in my ear earlier in the show talking about, he's first. Correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but he's first around the greens and 5th in putting this week. Bryson is. And like, that's great. Maybe he's just going to be good tomorrow too. But if you're losing on approach in back-to-back days and you're leaning on the short game to that degree, I do feel like, listen, I think he can win the tournament too, but it wouldn't shock me if he's got like an even par day and Corey Connors is, 2 under or whatever, 3 under.
It is actually, it is very reminiscent of, I'll try to pull this up when we get off of this, but it is kind of reminiscent of his 2024 Masters, where his 2024 Masters, he picked up like 7 strokes off the tee. He was like barely a positive approach player. And then he did a lot of short game stuff. So, and to your point, Sia, Sunday did not go particularly well for him. And it just like, it eventually catches up with you. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to take a look at that, but you're certainly correct about the concerns for Bryson holding this thing together.
Joe Neuenfeld says EC really called this last night. Yeah, I am recalling that now, Joe. EC was on top of Scotty falling. He wasn't a big fan of him. I think he liked Ludwig yesterday, and he was talking about Rory and Bryson specifically. EC's been on fire. He hit the Justin Rose first round leader as well at 65-1. Really good stuff. And of course, I can tell you who the biggest fan of Bryson is going to be. I mean, we know Mike McClure, when he has a ticket, it's probably a pretty big ticket. And this guy was pumping up Bryson DeChambeau from our DFS show moving forward, Rick. I mean, he was all over Bryson. So I know he is going to be Bryson's biggest fan. Do you have a dog in the fight? Like, I've got Xander and I've got Colin. I've got Colin in the without market. Those are like, I may as well just kind of throw those away at this point.
No, I would need Scotty or Xander. I have a large position on Corey Connors to finish inside the top 10. So hopefully we're good there. I have a Patrick Cantlay, big position on Patrick Cantlay to finish inside the top 20, which I could just grab this guy by the head. It's just tough, but, I would probably need him to shoot like 3 or 4 under to do that. So not completely cooked, but would need something special. And he has not shown me anything special all week, but, no, otherwise I'm just going to be an absolute fanatic tomorrow. I'm just going to be a fan. I cannot wait to see how this shakes out. It is going to be splendid.
All right, Rick. Well, so how is it going to shake out? Who wins and who is holding the silver medal?
I will like set aside the fact that I want Rory McIlroy to win. But I think he's objectively been the best player this week. He's 2 shots clear of Bryson. He's 4 shots clear of everybody else. He made, and you can say this for a lot of guys, but like Rory McIlroy made 2 very, very stupid mistakes on Thursday where he could have a 6-shot lead right now very easily. Or like he has played 52 nearly perfect holes and 2 incredibly horrible holes. I think he is just absolutely playing better than everybody else in the field.
I don't even think on Thursday at 15, that was like a huge mistake. I just like, Like that, like we saw Cantlay put it in the water when he chipped from that same exact position. I mean, you could have played it more conservatively, but I just feel like it was so firm and it just kind of got away from him. I don't know. Maybe it certainly was a mistake. I just don't think it was a big mistake.
Josh points out in the chat, like his world was spinning after that. And if he doesn't double 15, he probably doesn't double 17. Like, but the one inflicted the other. So you could argue it's like one bad chunk chip away from him having a 6-shot lead.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right on that. Yeah, I think it's going to be Rory that closes this thing out as well. Bryson in second. I do think that winner without Rory and Bryson market is fun. I just can't seem to. I think Patrick Reed at plus 750 would be the look, but I think it's going to be Corey Connors personally. But we put out some top 10, some top 5 stuff. We mentioned Xander. I mentioned Colin. We got some matchups that we liked, Rick. Rick, the second matchup you mentioned, I thought was a solid one. All right, I think that's going to do it. Rick, enjoy Augusta Day 4 tomorrow. I'm very excited for you. And I think everyone is excited to see the theater that is going to play out tomorrow. It's Rory, it's Bryson, and it's kind of everybody else, just how we kind of wanted it. Thanks for being in here, everybody. We're going to do a round 4 recap tomorrow night. So look forward to that. We're going to break it all down. We have no idea what's going to happen, but we're going to talk about it tomorrow on the Early Wedge. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel, this channel, and you've got your notifications turned on. All right, that's going to do it for us at the Early Wedge. On behalf of Josh on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, Rick Gehman, my name is Nejad. We'll see you tomorrow on the Early Wedge.